Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know who is sharing screen. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me. Please confirm on the chat box if you can hear me. I welcome us to this webinar today. Okay, thank you very much, Aniekan. I welcome us to this webinar today, and I would actually encourage us to actively participate in this webinar because it's going to teach us a lot of things. I know Mr. Oluyemi Adeosun is really prepared for us this afternoon. So, Ms. Precious, I'll actually be handing over to you now to continue with the webinar, the introduction, and every other thing. Please, let's do well to actually pay attention and as we continue this webinar from taken over by Miss Abosede. Miss Abosede, please, you can actually continue the webinar.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Abosede Precious Rivera. I'm a recruitment consultant and operations manager at Access Health Solutions, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's event. Okay, which brings top personalities from prestigious industries and the arts to Rome Business School. So that our communities can hear and learn from. So I'm really excited about today's program. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Oluyemi. So and he will be speaking to us on the topic beyond the resume. So this is going to take us through navigating the interview process and cultivating strong work ethics. So just a brief intro on Mr. Oluyemi. So Adeosun Oluyemi Theophilus is a top performing, accomplished and skilled human resource executive and researcher with over 18 years of experience across high-profile industries, including power, oil and gas, telecommunication, broadcasting, real estate, advertising, academia, consulting, voluntary work. He offers professional expertise and diverse range of skills within training and development, organizational strategies development, business partnership, change management, employee relation management, administrative expertise, HR role. Oluyemi is a community builder and founder of HR Mentorship. It's a group of HR professionals that has over 4,000 members. He has a YouTube channel dedicated to HR domain knowledge with over 3,300 subscribers. He is an alumni of Lagos Business School, HR Academic Executive Program, a member Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, elected council member CIPM, and he has certifications in senior professional human resources, GPHR. He is currently a PhD candidate, Economic Department, University of Lagos, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. Adeosun Oluyemi has worked as head HRO in Accelerate Holdings, helping employee relationship, Kedja Electric, head human resources and administrative career plus limited, people's manager, head human resources, emotion advertisements, He also has a prior experience in consulting and HR experience at a major telecommunication firm. Adeosun Oluyemi is a member of Toastmasters International, and he has attained the highest award of Distinguished Toastmaster, DTM, published about 43 papers in reputable journals, and he currently works at PLC as the head of human resource.
Thank you so much, Madam Abosede. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to confirm if you can hear me.
I think I would leave the floor now.
Apologies for the audio quality in the last few minutes, but please confirm my audio quality is good. Can someone just confirm in the chat
Yes,
box?
we can hear you, sir. You can go
Not
ahead.
just here, that you can hear me clearly. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much. Once again, I don't take this invitation for granted. My sincere appreciation and gratitude to the management and leadership of Rome Business School. Thank you for what you are doing with respect to raising leadership and management education quality, both in Nigeria and globally. I've been privileged to have met a couple of your students and alumni, and I can say for a fact that you produce world citizens. Thank you once again. So quickly, we'll move on to today's topic. I'll try, where possible, to make it as interactive as possible. I know we are busy, but you also know I'm also busy, so let us make the best of today's topic. All right, looking at navigating the interview process and cultivating very strong work ethics. I would just like to ask, on this call right now, this is a yes or no question. If you actually like interviews, drop it in the chat box, say yes or no. If you are invited for interviews and sometimes there's this feeling of nervousness, this feeling of unease, no matter how well prepared you are, you can also it in the chat box. Have you had an interview invite before that maybe you felt so unsure of yourself and you declined the invitation, or at the last minute you decided not to show up? Again, I would like to say quickly here that no matter how prepared you are for an interview process, it is still okay to be somewhat nervous. I agree completely that if, for example, you are not prepared, it will escalate your degree of nervousness. But no matter how much you prepare, it may not necessarily completely eradicate some level of nervousness. Sometimes we use expressions like, butterflies in our belly. Okay, all right. So let's move on quickly. Now, the first question I would like to ask us, and this is very important. When we talk about interviews, when we talk about putting our best foot forward, it is relative to the organization. It is relative to what does the organization want. Sometimes I like using relationships as illustration because it lightens up the space and people also remember those kind of illustrations vividly. So let me just use this hypothetical example. Let me see if I have any friend on this call. So let me use my host. So assuming my host is a lady and I don't find out what my host wants, I just assume that she would like to watch movies. And then I also go ahead and assume that she would like to watch horror movies. Then invite her out, take her out, and show her an horror movie. Meanwhile, my host is somebody that actually loves romantic movies. In the chat box, tell me, what do you think will be the expression and the disposition of my host the next time I say, let us go out for a movie. Let me see if I have any response or feedback in the chat box. Let me see. What do you think will be? I didn't ask my host what she wanted. I didn't even ask her whether she liked movie or not. I just assumed that, oh, there's a new cinema in the city, and I booked our time, took her out, and lo and behold, we watched 3 hours of intense, top quality, world-class horror movie. In fact, she was screaming, shouting, crying. It was very torturous. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the feedback. Now, still in the light of that illustration, nobody, no professional should approach any organization, emphasis on any organization without knowing what they want. I agree, as a professional, there is what you want, or your own wish list, a list of things you want. But you must know what the organizations want. When you know what the organization wants, when the representatives of the organization, this can now be HR, this can be the interview panel, this can be the CEO, it can be the head hunter, it can be a recruitment firm. When the representative of the organization is asking you questions, is trying to check you out, size you up, what are they doing? They are checking you out, sizing you up. These are what they want. Please pay attention. So when we ask you a simple question like, tell us about yourself, as simple and as predictable as that question is, what determines whether your response is good, top quality, average, or miserable is how well your introduction of yourself demonstrates your understanding of what the organization wants. In the chat box, quickly, what do organizations want? I hope to see various responses in the chat box. I also hope to see original thoughts. Don't overthink it. Just drop it. Whatever comes to your mind in your own words, just drop it in the chat box. What do the average organization, what do they want? Note, there are different kinds of organization. So, for example, a military firm is an organization. Government is an organization. A church is an organization. A mosque is an organization. An NGO is an organization. A school is an organization. A sport club is an organization. What does an organization want? You know, this question is such that if we get it, we will be good. I'll be able to say that to a large extent, my job is done. Because again, when people approach an organization, just like when I was trying to invite my host, I didn't size her up. I didn't ask her, my lady, are you available Thursday, 8 p.m.? Do you like to watch movies? What kind of movies do you want? Do you like? Do you prefer? Maybe identify 2, 3 top quality movies within her genre, and even say, which of these movies will you prefer to see? What does an organization want? I must sincerely thank us for all the beautiful responses I've gotten. Please make sure you are also reading the chats, because there are so many insights being dropped in the chat as we speak. So many beautiful insights being dropped in the chat. Okay, fantastic. Now, I have summarized what organization wants into 3. Note, everything you have dropped in the chat box is valid, is correct, is on point, but I have summarized it into 3. The first thing organization wants, irrespective of the type of organization, is inflow. And when I say inflow, let me put it even more, in a simpler way, or easily, in a way that is easy to relate with. They want what? Financial inflow. I don't know that organization that doesn't want financial inflow. I'll mention a few randomly. If you are a government firm, maybe you'll be looking for revenues. If you are, for example, an NGO, non-governmental organization, you'll be maybe looking for donations or grants. If you are a business firm, you'll be looking for revenues. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, every organization needs inflow, financial inflow. It comes in different names. It can be revenue, can be profits, can be donation, can be grants. When we talk about cash flow, for example, we are talking about incoming of money frequently or consistently at near predictable patterns. So when I ask you that question, tell me about yourself, or why do you think you are the best man or woman for this job? That introduction, depending on the type of organization, must show me how you will help us get revenue, profits, donations, grants, cash flow, whatever it is. Inflow. What is another thing an organization wants? The second thing, all organizations, I don't care the nature of the organization, whether it is faith-based, whether it is military, whether it is for profit or non-profit, they are looking for ability to control, contain costs. The truth is, inflow is good. No matter how much money you make, ladies and gentlemen, you can outspend it. I'll say that again. If you make 1 million naira, but you spend 1.5 million naira, what will be the outcome? The organization will be broke, and the organization will probably need to declare bankruptcy. When we ask you that question, or any question at all, and we say, tell us why you are the best man or woman for the job, your conversation must show us how you will contain costs. First, your conversation must revolve around inflow. Next, how you will control, manage costs. And then the third one, I combine two in one. It must reflect quality and timeliness. Now, the word quality means what the stakeholder identifies and values as quality. In other words, the inherent characteristics that satisfies the stakeholder's need. Now, there are multiple stakeholders. So the organization that wants to hire you, for example, is a stakeholder. But by extension, the client that organization is servicing is also your stakeholder. So when you are responding, you must show, so all the things like your competencies, your credibility, your capacity, your experience, your exposure, the schools you have attended must show how you will be able to bring quality to bear. Of course, in a very timely manner. In a very timely what? Manner. Because if you provide us with quality service, but it is belated, it will no longer be what? Valuable. So all the things like reliability, consistency, and so on and so forth. Again, let me recap on this particular page. Tell us about yourself. Inflow, cost containment, quality, and timeliness. Don't say anything that you cannot tie directly or indirectly to this. And I tell you in an interview, so to speak, you are telling a story of your career journey, but you are speaking about your career journey in a way that shows and demonstrates historically and also potentially futuristically how you can help with inflow, how you can help with cost containment, how you can help with quality and timeliness, which means you are not saying anything for saying sake. you are not saying anything for saying sake. Because at the end of the day, all organizations are looking for increase in market share. If you don't have the kind of quality, if you don't have the kind of quality and timely deliverables, you will not be increase market share. Host, please stop muting me, please. You will not be able to deliver on assignments, on projects, on tasks, deliverables, and so on and so forth. Now, look at this quote. Brett Hart says that if you have got the confidence and the work ethic, you can make any dream come true. Emphasis on what? Any dream. If you have got the confidence and the work ethic, you can make anything come true. Okay? Any dream at all, you can make it come true. You see, when you are engaging with an organization and you are looking for a job, or you are already in the organization and you are looking for a promotion, the principles and concepts are not too far from each other. You must be able to show and demonstrate the kind of value you are going to what? Bring to the table. Now, let me say this, and I'm saying this respectfully. I know I'm in a very cerebral community, and I'll say this very respectfully. I have actually not come across any employee or potential employee that is not good. However, I have seen many good people who are not able to demonstrate their competence and capabilities. I am yet to meet that one person that doesn't actually really have skills, competence, and capabilities. What shocks me in my short career in HR is that people are not able to relate with things easily. I'll give you an example. You know, I won't mention the name of the bank, but for those of you who know, you will know it. One of their slogans is, we're a one customer bank. Now, there was a time they were doing interviews for entry level, graduate trainee, you know, and a lady came to participate in the interview process. And this lady read botany. Please, I want to ask in the chat box, what is the relationship between botany and banking? Anybody in the chat box, what is the relationship between botany and what? And banking. But guess what? They asked this young lady, they said, lady, you read botany. What can you do for us? We are a bank. And the lady said, one of the things we do in botany is to pay attention to the different plants. The different plants. That, do you know how painstaking it is to be able to, one, identify each plant, identify the nutrients required for survival and optimal flourishing of each plant? That is the same mindset. If you employ me in your customer service, I will dedicate myself to all your customers. I'm going to pay focused attention to each and every of your customers, just like in my 4 or 5 years of academic study, I've been dedicating it to plants. Did you get that? So there is a concept of interrelatedness. There are no two things in life, in the world, that you cannot connect. If you cannot connect two things, it is because you cannot think deeply enough. It is because you are not reflecting deeply enough. It doesn't matter the kind of experience you have had. It doesn't matter whether it is a multinational or a one-man business. It doesn't matter even if it is a family-owned business. If you can think deeply, you can connect something professionally from your past academic experience, past internship, to the current opportunity that you are looking at. When you are approaching interviews, when you are approaching job opportunities, when you are approaching promotional opportunities, it is very, very fundamental that you approach it with an open mind and you can connect it. Even if they ask you a question you did not anticipate, you did not expect, don't blank out. With an open mind, you will see that there is a connection between what you have done in the past and what you can do in the future. This is very important. Now, when we talk about bringing something to the table, I know we said it a lot, or we hear it a lot. It's becoming, fast a cliche. You will hear, what do you bring to the table? Now, let me quickly share a story. Sometimes I like sharing stories because you won't forget the story. So a few years ago, I met a particular young lady, not an executive management, young lady, and she said, "Oh, Oluyemi, please, most job opportunities, vacancies I see are always asking for experience, requiring experience." And she said, "That is the problem. I don't have experience." And I paused and I said, "Young lady, I have never met anybody in my life that doesn't have experience. However, I have met people that had experience but didn't realize that that experience is experience." I asked in passing, "What does your mother do?" She said, "Oh, my mother is a petty trader." I said, "How long has she been a petty trader?" She said, "All of my life." This lady was probably 22, 23 that day when I was having this conversation with her. I said, "What kind of products is your mother selling?" And she mentioned all the brands, the Unilever, Promasidor, 7-Up, Coca-Cola, all the brands. I said, do you at any point in your life support your mother in this business?" She said, "Of course. Anytime I went to school throughout my primary and secondary school, from school, I stayed with her in the shop till we close at night." I said, "Wow." So for 23 years of your life, you've actually been exposed to merchandising. 1. 2, customer service. 3, debt management, or none of your neighbors used to buy products from your mother on credit. She said, "Yes." I said, "Debt recovery, negotiation, when branding," and I can go on and on. In the space of like 15 minutes, I had identified 23 skills and competencies this lady sincerely, genuinely has been exposed to. Do you get that? He now said, "Okay." And I ask her, "Why is your CV showing no experience?" So you could write on your CV, for example, a family-owned business, retailer for, you name all the multinationals, and you put these skills and competencies there. Suddenly, her face lit up. To cut the long story short, by 3 months later, when I was hearing from her, she had gotten a job. What changed? Not her past. Her past had always been there, but her awareness and consciousness had changed. So her approach, someone that had this predisposition that I didn't have any skill, I didn't have any experience. What am I saying? I don't know who you are personally right now, but what I'm trying to bring to your table, to your attention, to your focus is that you are a gold mine. You are a gold mine. If you have now even done a program with Rome Business School, management, human resources, each course will at least equip you with multiple competencies. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we must blur the line between theory and practice. What do I mean, people? You will realize that there are some jobs, they will say, if you have a school cert, maybe 5 years experience. They will say if you have a first degree, maybe 3 years experience. If you have a master's, 2 years experience. Knowledge and experience is interchangeable and it is malleable. So some things you will experience it on the job, some things you can experience it through the classroom. But experience is experience. As long as you can apply, you see, you need to have this foundation. And when we talk about this foundation, this is what we call work ethic. What is work ethic? It means many things, but one of them is what? One, you can set a clear goals. You see, when we say someone has a strong work ethic, we typically mean things like, oh, the person is, for example, punctual. Why is sloppy if you have a clear goal? You won't be flapping around at the workplace if you have a clear goal. You won't be in a hurry to go if you have a clear goal, except, of course, going home is also part of the goal, because work-life balance can also be part of the goal to help you achieve your goal. Building a strong work ethic. You'll be able to what? Take ownership and be reliable. Now, there's a proverb. I'm from Southwest Nigeria, Yoruba speaking. So I will say the Yoruba proverb in English. I'm putting that up front because the English is because I am speaking Yoruba literally in English. So forgive the English if it's not correct. And the proverb in English is, whether the master sells or the master does not sell, the payment for the wheelbarrow or cart pusher will be complete. That is not ownership mentality. Because the wheelbarrow or cart pusher has offloaded products for the master and collected his money. If the master does not clear out through sales the product, he is not going to restock anytime soon. If he doesn't restock anytime soon, what happens to the cart pusher? The cart pusher's turnover will be found in between. You must realize wherever you are working today or you will work tomorrow, that your, forgive my French, but your career destiny is intertwined with the organization's destiny. Consequently, you must own it. For every month they pay you salary, wages, you must, again, let me use a colloquial, street language so I will understand. You must die there. You must work so hard that people will begin to say, sorry, is your daddy or uncle the owner of this business? That's ownership. You take ownership of the problem, you take ownership of the solution. You take ownership of ensuring customer satisfaction. When we talk about being reliable, it means you are thorough. It means you are consistent. It means you are rigorous. It means we don't need to second guess or have a second look at what you have done. What? Dependable. Look, you can't be said to have a strong work ethic if you are not disciplined. You need to be disciplined. And let me say this very respectfully. There is a in either Colombia or Escobar. I think Colombia now. His name is Pablo Escobar.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess the speaker is having okay, he's back.
I apologize.
Sorry.
It's my
Okay,
network.
Mr. Okay, sorry.
I'm back. It's my network.
Okay,
It's
sorry.
part of resilience. We died there. Apologies.
Yeah.
Again, I was talking about staying disciplined before that interruption. And I said Pablo Escobar, who was reputable to be a drug lord, said something I will never forget. He said, a cocaine pusher that takes drugs will soon come down. I'll say that again. Pablo Escobar, who is like, he was the head of the mafia, of the cartel in his region or sub-region, said that if you are not disciplined, you can't be a successful drug dealer. And he said that a drug dealer that takes drug will soon go down. In other words, if you are not professional, you can't be a successful drug cartel in something that is not honorable, that is destroying life. In other words, if you have a group of 10 thieves, guess who they keep money with? The honest thief. You have to stay disciplined. You know, as you grow in your career, you will have access. You will have information. Do you have the capacity to look away? Though for some of us that are in HR, for example, sometimes we see extremely sensitive personal information and you behave as if you didn't see anything. And you continue to relate with that person normally, not taking into consideration what you had access to by purview, by reason of your position or your occupation or where you work. You must be what? Adaptable. Embrace change and seek new challenges. You know, talking with people over time, when you listen to them, especially when they tell their story, you will see that for many people, they had gotten opportunity, but because they were not flexible, they missed it. What do I mean? It's not all opportunities that when they emerge, they come as obvious. It's not all opportunities that will like times 3 your current salary. The opportunity may come like sometimes an horizontal move. You've been on a particular desk, they now say make a lateral move. What will some people do? They will be irritated. They will be pissed off. They are not adaptable. They are not flexible. They will say, no, if it is not a role that is a more senior role with higher pay, I'm not taking it. 2 years down the line, the opportunity they ignored now burst into the limelight for someone else. They will now be regretting. If only I had known. You need to practice self-motivation. You need to find ways to stay motivated. And I'm not talking about aspire to perspire. You know, sometimes in this part of the world, we sometimes joke about motivational speaker telling us we can do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what are the core things in HR? HR, for example, seeks to what? Attract, retain, and motivate. Now, when we talk about motivation in HR, motivation means taking action. Motivation means making adjustments. Motivation means pushing forward, taking the right steps. You know, if you are from this part of the world, you are a winner already, you are a survivor already. No excuse is germane. I tell people, the day my mom gave birth to me, there was no light. What if my mom has said, Oluyemi, there's no light, I give up? My uncle of blessed memory told me that in 1962, when he first came to Lagos, he wanted to catch a ship to Liverpool in UK. There was traffic and he missed his ship. When he got to Apapa, he saw his ship moving. He lost 2 weeks of his education. So he will tell you in 2020 that, Oluyemi, you cannot use traffic as an excuse. Traffic cost me 2 weeks in 1962. It is motivation. You have to be motivated above the problems. You have to be motivated above the lack, what we don't have, what you don't have access to. You see, I told you about organizations and what they want. Believe me or yes or believe me, all organizations have challenges. It can be cash flow, it can be multiple competing resources, competing for little assets. The world out there is tough. When you are at work, when you are professional, be upbeat, be positive. There's a word we use for it now, energy. Radiate positive energy. That way, any professional that comes in contact with you, they will always have a positive memory about you. I remember one particular bank back in the days, they had a small problem. They were folding up due to cash flow issues. One of their customers said, you are folding up? His customer service officer said, would you like to work with me? She said, yes. Guess how much she was offered? 3 times. She said, for the last 2 years, I've always noticed that no matter how long the queue is, no matter how many people are on the queue, you attend to every customer politely and positively. Positive attitude. It cannot be what overemphasized. Still talking about our subject matter, the power of preparation. Yeah, you came to this organization, this school, to be prepared. You are a member of the alumni community to remain prepared. You must always research and prepare. Don't take anything for granted. You know, sometimes some of us professionals, you know our problem? Over familiarity. Familiarity. No. Always approach each opportunity as if this is the breakthrough you have been waiting for. If you have been waiting for a breakthrough, what do? You research, you prepare. All the techniques that you've been taught, equipped with in the school, you put them to use. You are going for an opportunity in another organization or an internal opportunity or a promotional opportunity, learn about the new role, learn about the culture. What kind of alignment do you need to make? What kind of dressing will be acceptable where you are going? If it's not entertainment, you may not want to look in a certain way. And if it is entertainment, you may also want to look in a certain way. So there is no wrong or right way. It is relative to the organization you are going or to the opportunity that is at hand. Also, ladies and gentlemen, practice, rehearse. You can rehearse with your friend, with your colleague, with your spouse or partner. Rehearse. See, in the process of rehearsal, you get better. And that's why you will notice in my profile, they told you that I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, because I realized that communication is key. In fact, another adage in my mother tongue, Yoruba language, in English says that not being able to talk or communicate is the beginning of what? Failure. You must be articulate. You must be eloquent. You must be good with words. Always approach your career conversations from an achievement perspective. I don't care whether you are having a, what do you call it now? A career conversation with your line manager. Maybe it's a performance management. Maybe you are doing a monthly check-in, a weekly check-in. When you are doing your daily, weekly, monthly reports, ensure that you itemize and highlight your key achievements. Even when they don't ask you for reports, generate it, sell yourself, blow your trumpet. What are your key skills? What are the experiences that you have? How does it add value? How have you added value? You see, don't just talk theory or story. Show with tangible evidence. I did this, it led to this. We call it the STAR methodology. The situation, the task, the achievements, the results. Okay, during the interview, I highlight specific examples demonstrating your abilities and past successes. Align with requirements. Relate your achievement to the requirements of the job, demonstrating your suitability. Okay? Ensure you study about the organization. And I was speaking with someone very recently, and the person said something like, oh, I don't know anybody in the organization. You don't have to know. So how can I get insight into the organization? I said, well, one day, go to the organization at closing hour, enter into the bus with some of their staff and pay their transport. You will engage with them. They will give you insights. When you have insights, you will be able to relate better. Okay, understand the team, have clarity. The job description, study it, evaluate it. Ask yourself, what skills are required to succeed in this job? What competencies are required to be outstanding on this particular role? Don't take it for granted. You see, whether you get the job or you don't get the job, whether you get the promotion or you don't get the promotion, maintain a right attitude. Follow up. You can reach out. It's not old-fashioned to be grateful. And you don't have to be grateful for only things that work. Oh, thank you for the opportunity to interview for so role. Even though I wasn't shortlisted, I got many valuable lessons and insights that will help me in my career. I've seen people, even in my HR career, people that we didn't take for one reason or the other. 1 year later, 6 months later, another opening, maybe in a subsidiary or in another company comes up, and I say, I remember this person, and you what? You refer that person. And that opportunity even turns out to be way bigger than the original opportunity they miss, allegedly. So remain professional. Remain what? Professional throughout the conversation. Somebody, just pretend as if somebody's always watching you based on the quality of the service you are rendering right now that may recommend you for a bigger promotion. I don't know how much time I have left, but I'd like to invite the moderator and my host if you can have questions and answers. I hope I've been able to add some value. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Oluyemi. We really appreciate it. I don't know if Miss Abosidi, Miss Precious.
Yes.
Hello, Miss Precious.
Yes, I'm right.
Okay, so you can continue, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have some hands already for the question and answer segment. So please, if you have your questions, if you have any questions for Mr. Oluyemi, let's know so that we can have them now. Miss Sarah, I think we have some people with their hands up already.
Okay, Nelson, it's on. Please, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Hello,
Yes,
Nelson.
yes, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I wanted to know, like, in the IT space, how can someone tell about himself? Because I was even asking, with the example he has provided, I mean, how can he tell us also about himself? So I would also like, in the cybersecurity profession, how can one tell about himself? Thank you so much.
Okay, let me quickly respond to that. So, for example, before I came here today, I was requested to submit my profile, which I did. You will notice that, for example, in my profile, if you had that part, it was mentioned that I have 43 papers. Now, there are certain places I go to facilitate or teach. I don't mention that I have 43 papers in that particular profile. Why? I know a university environment, if they have 43 papers, it will ring a bell. Because how many people have 43 papers in the management team? Now, what matters? It doesn't matter whether it is a cyber security. Each industry, organization, or career or profession has what we call in English lexis and structure, like a language, like a word bank. When you are speaking, even from your primary, secondary, university, whatever, you are using the kind of words, like what an applicant tracking system would do, looking for buzzwords, relevant words, so that you're able to say, oh, when I was doing my internship in the university, I worked at a cyber cafe. During my stay at that cyber cafe, there was an antivirus attack that wiped out our system for 2 weeks. That exposed me to the danger of cybersecurity. And my interest in cybersecurity became aroused. Subsequently, I started to do certifications around. You have connected the story. So make sure that the majority of what you are saying demonstrates your exposure experience, both in theory, in practice, to the work. I also saw a question asking on how to negotiate in the chat box from one of our colleagues, a pastor. And I would like to quickly say that first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, when you are negotiating, don't fixate your money. I'll say it one more time. When you are negotiating, don't be fixated on money. Money is just one item on the negotiation. In fact, let me say this clearly. You can negotiate everything in an offer, from your resumption time to your closing time to your leave days to whether you want upfront or you want it monthly, okay? You can negotiate the quality of training, the type of training. You can negotiate how your salary will be allocated. So negotiate holistically. Don't just go with a one item and say net 800,000 per month. And don't also, more money does not necessarily translate to a better life. And I know what I'm saying. Some people are just so fixated on money, they don't focus on, for example, the benefits. So we have compensation and benefits. To also help you with your negotiation, try and do one or two research about the organization so that you won't go and outprice yourself from the market. I've seen places where people will be asking for money that is 3 times what the managing director is asking for. So do some research, know your walk-away position, but don't let greed get you out of a beautiful opportunity. Some places I've taken a pay cut 3 times in my life because of certain experience and exposure I wanted to have. Where I am today, I took a pay cut. Everything is not money. You can get experience that will now pay you the money 3 times. Many people are raising their hands. Madam Moderator, please, let's allow them to ask their questions. So.
Okay,
Okay.
Omini, you can ask your question,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Epson.
Miss Efim Omini, please, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. All right, Eukaria Ekuma, can you ask your question?
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, we can hear you.
Okay, I want to ask you, I have an issue. I was headhunted and I did the first interview, I did the second interview, but it's over a month now. I have not, even up to the point we are about negotiating the price. That is the offer. I don't know, up till now, they have not gotten back to me. I don't know how that's. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Omini. I'll respond in a generic manner because I don't have the specific details from the back end. I've had your side of the story, but not the side of the story of the organization. But I can tell you this for free. Many times when organizations are talking to candidates, they typically are talking to multiple candidates, almost every time. At least 2, 3, sometimes 5 people. You need to note that. Also, there are certain internal processes. It could be approval, maybe depending on the role, they may need, for example, a board approval, management approval, okay? And some of these stakeholders may not always be available readily at the same time. However, advice to my HR colleagues on this call, please manage the communication with your candidates. You can also reach out to them, even if you don't want to close it because you are not sure whether you are proceeding with the candidate or rejecting the candidate. Say, oh, dear Etsy, your candidacy is still in process. Give us additional 2 weeks, we'll get back to you. Instead of leaving that employee or potential employee wondering, because you never know. Just like the organization is talking to multiple candidates, the candidate sometimes or many times is also talking to multiple organizations, and they may go and take an offer from a seemingly less deserved space. Mr. Omini, I'll encourage you to hold on, be calm, but keep spreading your tentacles. You said you are head, you'll most likely come back for you. Thank you. Next question, please.
Okay, Eukaria.
I think Miss Eukaria.
Missy, yeah, I think she can speak now. If she's not responding, maybe we take Mr. Samuel Ayodeji.
Can you hear me now? I think your network is bad. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes,
We can hear you now.
Because I've been trying to unmute. Good evening. First of all, thank you for that very beautiful lecture. It was highly insightful. So my question is, so how can you know exactly what like your recruiters want? Because I've been to a couple of interviews where I actually took my time to read the JD, that's the job description, and I did my research about the company and everything. Then going for the interview, you find them asking you like questions that are like unrelated in the sense that not like about maybe yourself or maybe the job. They start asking you differences between certain words, like maybe what is the difference between goat and yam, for example. I'm just giving examples. And also I've also been to an like a HR interview where they're asking me about like what is kickback. Like till now I still have that in stock in my head, and kickback actually means bribery. But then I read the job description, read everything about the company, but getting there, the questions were like unrelated, and so how can you know what exactly they would ask you, especially in this part of the world like Nigeria, where sometimes it feels like recruiter just want you to fail. Most of them are not like, so they are not like social. Like I've been to interviews where the recruiters are really like social. They ask you questions that are really interesting and you find it beautiful interacting with them. Why some just come at you, as if they don't want you to have the job. They ask you like very difficult questions that are really unrelated to the job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I can relate. I as both an HR practitioner, being part of panels in different organizations, and also as being on the other end, being the candidate. Generally speaking, sometimes, like you said, some interviews look a little more like interrogation than a chat, than an interview. And some of these things boils down to either the culture of the organization or the culture of the personnel involved in the interview process. Now, generally speaking, global organizations, that are forward-looking, don't assume that all their employees are good with interview. So once you are a manager or a senior manager or assistant manager and above, and you'll be sitting on interview panels or you'll be involved with the interview process, they will run you through the interview process. For example, maybe competency-based assessments, ethics around interview. There are some questions that we have absolutely no business asking. All those questions like, are you married? How many children do you have? That's absolutely nothing to do with your capacity or competence to do the job. However, coming back to the side of the employee, you must prepare for anything. And I mean it. And that's why I said, when you know what to expect and you get it, you perform well. But you must, part of your preparation is to prepare for the unexpected. The first thing is when they ask things, don't, what's the word now? Don't become pissed off or irritated. Some people approach interview that way because they want to see how you cope under pressure. And I'm not making a justification to say it is good or ideal, but I'm just saying that sometimes it may be the interviewer's disposition, not the organization's disposition, so that you won't lose a good job opportunity in a good organization because of your interface. Okay, so remain pleasant, cheerful. If a question is completely out of scope, unprofessional, you can, for example, say, oh, thank you for that question, but I respectfully decline. Let me give an example. Maybe you say, how much are you earning in your current organization? I can say, oh, thank you for that question. Because of my confidentiality clause with my current organization, I'm unable to respond. However, I'm very happy to discuss my salary expectation. I'm looking at 2 million naira per month. Please be polite. Don't be rude. Don't say, why are you asking for my pay slip? Decline respectfully by saying, oh, I have a non-disclosure agreement. And don't say the question you're asking is foolish. Respond to that question. If there is a relevant, useful part, you can move from that seemingly irrelevant question and then show your skills to say, oh, thank you for asking me about yam and goat. Again, I'm here for interview. I'm interviewing for sales position. In my last job, in a space of 3 months, I closed 32 high network customers, sold 500 B2B customers, and retail customers. You always bring them to the value politely. Okay, I hope I've been able to provide some help. Let's see. I see other questions. Let me quickly respond to a question I saw on the chat box. somebody is saying something like she's like a management person and she went for an interview and everything went well until got to a salary. The truth is, it's not every organization that can pay you. Sometimes some of these organizations, instead of them to know their size, they are aspirational. They are, some people pay badly and they don't know. Think everybody is paid badly. So when you tell them that, oh, you are earning 50,000 naira, in their mind, 50,000 naira, we want to pay 22,000. Just shake them and go. But don't be irritated or upset. Someone in that company that wants to pay you, they recommend you for a 200,000 naira job. I'm just using 50,000 and 200,000 as hypothetical examples. My moderator, I don't know. Please, I think we have Benjamin. I can see Benjamin. Please, Oga Benjamin, you can ask your question. I want to answer everybody's question. Oga Benjamin.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, the moderator. Thank you so much for the insightful information you have actually communicated. In fact, is very enlightening to me. But sir, if I may humbly ask, like the question whereby you were actually throwing light on that, can we know you? I would like if you can give us a practical example of how to relate to such questions, because I think it's one of the basic questions that it's just like a for sure in virtually every interview. If I can have, or if we may have that practical way of responding from you, I think it will be appreciable, sir. Thank you, and over.
Okay, so let me use an example. Again, because I don't know your story, so I can only talk about myself. So I give you an example. So my name is Oluyemi Adeosun. I attended the International School, University of Ibadan, where I was exposed to citizens from 12 different countries in the world. Early in my adolescent age, I've been exposed to working with people from multinational and multicultural societies. And therefore, I have a good understanding and appreciation of people. I attended University of Ilorin, where I studied economics. And in economics, my favorite aspect of economics was labor and manpower economics. It was while studying economics that I realized that the three factors of production, land, labor, and capital, I focused on labor. And that is what brought me to make me to decide I was going to study and work as an HR professional. I have a master's in economics where I also specialized in manpower. I did my master's in business administration. And for a change, I didn't specialize in HR. I specialized in change management because I realized that some of the issues with HR initiatives is not being able to manage change. Currently, I'm running my PhD and my thesis is around human capital development. You will see that I've continuously developed and honed my skills around HR. You would like to hire me as your HR director. Just to let you know, I'm a member of the Governing Council of Tara Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, where I'm exposed to issues across multi-sector and multi-geographic spaces. I need you to know that I understand this job and I'm willing to work with you. Thank you. So I just give you an example. If you didn't go to the International School Ibadan, you can't quote it. If you went to Fenojeba Secondary School, it is not a multicultural school. I went to ISI, the same school as Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the same school as Mobolaji Johnson. Do you understand? Which there must be something that you did that you can. The same way I connected botany and banking. So if I know your story, I can share your story. But if I don't know your story, I won't know. Okay, you can always, let me use another story. My brother was the second best student in his class. Guess what? The best student was a woman. He is a man. In his interview, he said, I'm the best male graduating student. Best male graduating student. And it's correct. It's his story. Okay, let's take Ugochi. Let's take Raji. Ogaraji, please.
Ugochi is speaking, please. Good evening,
okay.
Mr. Joshua. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Ugochi Ohabuike. And Thank you for the insightful session. I don't know if you can hear me, please.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is this. Good evening. So my question is this. This is really a question. I actually enjoyed the session, but the focus was on people who were going to attend interviews. What of some people who do the interview themselves? We also need to know how to handle the interview session, because it's really not something I look forward to.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you for your question. I don't know if
Hello.
Rome Business School can share with you. I remember my last session with Rome Business School was on competency-based interview for leaders. So if we have an archive or a record, I'm sure the career service will be glad to share that with you. Just to let you know that we had done a session. I mean, Rome Business School, I was privileged to be the facilitator of that session. But my advice for us, HR or recruiters, is that we have to be what? Professional at all times. You also have to show empathy. Don't make it like it's a buyer's market. Treat every candidate like a potential business owner. What do I mean? That candidate you are interviewing today, if tomorrow it becomes the minister of petroleum, will he not seize the license of your firm? Be respectful, be professional, have a process, communicate. If you are not going to go ahead with candidates, don't leave them cold and angry. Thank them profusely for being part of the interview process. You don't have to say they failed. Sometimes people don't have to fail not to get a job. You can say another candidate was slightly better, a better match for the role, and you wish them well. Okay? Just remain professional. Be polite. Don't invite people for interview for 2 o'clock and keep them waiting for 2 hours. It is not fair. Even if the person is entry level and doesn't have work, they could at least be watching football or Z-World or sleeping. Respect. Treat candidates like they are your clients, so that if tomorrow they blow, they will respect you. Okay. Let's take Raji if he's available, or we move to Emmanuel.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Live and clear, sir.
Okay. I'm an HR assistant at my company, and anytime we conducted interview, there is this particular question my boss used to ask. She do ask that, in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself? Everybody that answered, she keeps telling me that all of them answered the question wrongly. So I'm to ask you that if I'm asked such question in an interview, that in the next 5 years, where do I see myself? What's the appropriate way to answer such questions?
Okay, thank you so much, Raji. Again, that question is an open-ended question, and there is no right or wrong way. Again, don't forget my first submission, that what does organization want? And we summarized it that they want more money. They want to contain costs. They want quality, timeliness. Just to summarize, plus all the beautiful things your colleagues and my colleague put together. Now, when you are speaking to where you see yourself in 5 years, say things that will show that that organization is at the heart and center of that plan. So, for example, I won't say in 5 years' time, I'll see myself as married with 2 children. Why? What has been married with 2 children? How would that add value to the organization? It may even be seen as a distraction. But if you say something that, so again, context matters. So let's assume that today, I'm an HR, head of HR. I can say in 5 years' time, I see myself in the position and capacity of an HR director. Not having only responsibility for HR functionality, but handling a P&L functionality for the organization. Simple. What have I said? That in 5 years' time, I will not only be managing people, I'll also be responsible for revenue in the organization. Look, don't be carried away. Don't tell them that in 5 years' time, you'll be in Canada. They will say this one is a flight risk. All questions they ask you, keep your eye on the ball. How will my answer help them make more money? How will my answer help them contain costs? How will my answer help them get value timely? Shikena, I've given you the cheat code.
Thank you.
I think SN, you have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. My question is actually a simple one. The second part of it you've answered in the course of the lecture, and your lecture was really, really, really mind blowing. It's great. But I want to ask, recently I got involved in an interview, and I actually refused the interview because of the manner at which the interviewer came up with it. I felt it was unprofessional, so I just refused it. I didn't know if I was doing something, if it was okay, but I just felt this is, I can't see myself working, whatever you have to offer, I just refused. Then the second, which is my main question, is there's one I was actually interested in, and I followed up even till the end. But I wanted to know, is it okay? You said something about follow up. Is it okay to follow up with an interview, follow up with an HR? Doesn't it make you look cheap?
Thank you so much for your question. So let me quickly respond to the first one. It's okay to reject something. Again, I like using relationship. So it's like you're a woman. No, I can promise you, not all the men that toast you that you will say yes to. But don't say the no in a nasty manner. Don't say, oh, you are not in my class. That's derogatory. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Philip Moses. I feel highly elated and delighted that you find my beauty worthy enough to ask me out. I would have loved to be your girlfriend, but I'm already committed. If by any chance I become free and unattached, I will reach out to you. Let's remain friends. By the way, do you know that I'm into banking? Would you like to open an account with me? Don't be rude. Don't say get away. Don't say get lost. Are you with me? So it's okay to turn opportunities down. And if they treat you badly, you can stop the process, but be positive and friendly. Again, it may be the person that is bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that organization is bad. Now, to your other question, so let me say this directly. So don't do interview Monday, 2:00. Then Monday evening, you send me to follow up. Wait for like, say, 2 weeks is reasonable. One, don't forget that the organization is probably not interviewing only you. So if you wait for 2 weeks at the minimum, you can say, oh, their Rome Business School, 2 weeks ago, it was my privilege and honor to meet with 4 of your colleagues where I interviewed for the role of HR director. I'm hoping that by now, your team will have been able to reach a decision with respect to my candidacy. I'm open to an update. Thank you. If they don't respond, it's 2 weeks. Wait for another 2 weeks. And say, this is just a reminder. If after that 2 weeks, wait for 1 month. When you ask the third time, which is 1 month, walk away. Leave them. They may come back for you. Thank you. I think we have Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And thank you for this wonderful presentation. Please, I have some questions that has to do with HR, actually. How do one request for a pay rise? In an organization where you've been working for over 10 years and then, they are not even looking at, the side of some group of people for a pay rise. That's one. Then two, normally I know that organizations do have a handbook, maybe something like their policy, staff policy guide or things like that. Is it very necessary that all staff should have it? Because most organizations don't actually give, or want to release these handbooks to their staffs. Probably, maybe there are some policies there that could now, affect them if the staffs use it, to take off certain things or to demand certain things from them. And then thirdly, how do you handle a line manager who uses vulgar languages on his subordinates? Languages like what a fuck, you fucking
Don't
up and
use it.
fucking.
We don't allow vulgar language at Rome Business School. Please don't use it. We understand your question.
Okay, so please, okay. I'm very sorry. I'm just trying to but things like that. So how do you handle such line managers?
Okay.
So thank you very much.
All right. I'll respond quickly to your questions. Okay. First and foremost, when we say, how do you ask for a pay rise? It's a very beautiful question. But again, I will take you back to how I started today's webinar. If you joined us from the beginning, how to make money, how to contain cost, quality, and timeliness. The first thing is, when in your request, don't approach the request for pay rise based on your tenure. I'll say that again.
Based on
your tenure. Don't say, oh, I've been around forever. It's not by Methuselah. States that in the period I've worked with you, for example, I have made XYZ amount of money for you. Or I have saved you XYZ amount of money. Or better put, on one hand, I've made XYZ amount and saved you ABC, delivered on this project, what this. Come forward with visible value, not sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, sentiment does not open doors. What opens doors is value. And then say how you have earned far and over beyond what you are being paid. And then I say, please, I'm asking for 100% pay rise. Now promise them that even if they promote you or increase your money, now show them what you will also do much more based on the motivation you will get. Or you are not a tree. Look for an organization that values you. Take a walk. Are you with me? There's a colloquial in this part of the world. We call it see finish. Sometimes when people think you are with them, they won't know that you are loyal. They will think you are stranded. Sometimes there's a thin line between loyalty and being stranded. Okay, you can take a walk. You can. Now, your second question on employee handbook. Ideally, customarily, all employees should have access to it. I said access. Either is a published book that they have or it's online they can download. Normally, all employees are supposed to sign something to affirm that they have read and understood the handbook. Now, let me say this respectfully. If maliciously the organization denies employees access to the handbook and it becomes part of a litigation process, it is going to be treated as unfair labor practice. And employees can say genuinely that they are not aware of certain things because the avenues to be aware, you blocked it. A class action can be taken against the organization. We are fortunate in this part of the world that we leave a lot of things to God, and with due respect, God fights for us, but you won't always be lucky. Some people not only leave it for God, they also go to court. So they use God and court together, and God will now intervene in the court, and you'll be shocked. The last question, because of time, first and foremost, let me say this. I know that because we want to survive, because we want to pay school fees, we have threshold to tolerate a lot of things. But let me say this. Any line manager that consistently, persistently is using foul language, let me tell you the first thing I will do. The first thing I will do is I'm going to record and have evidence. And I won't record one. I will record like 15 on my phone. Thank God for the phones we use today. I will record, test the recording, have different evidences. So when I will say, Mr. Oluyemi, it is me you are calling so. He will say it again. I will record. First, the important thing you need to do is evidence. The second thing I will do is I will go and meet him. I won't tell him I've recorded anything. I'll say, Mr. Oluyemi, I respect your professionalism. I like the fact that you are a master in this field. Sir, I'll be able to serve you better if the tone of your language is polite. Sir, please, I respond well to words. You can correct me, you can chastise me, but don't talk down at my person. If that doesn't work, send an email to me. Dear sir, you will recall I discussed with you on your use of vulgar languages. I like to place it on notice that I will appreciate if you refrain. Meanwhile, I am committed to doing work excellently. If it doesn't work, go and meet the MD. If the MD doesn't do anything, make a copy, emphasis on a copy. Play a copy of the recording to the MD. Something will change. If that doesn't work, go to court. Go to what? Court. Last question for the day. Philip Moses.
Okay, Mr. Philip, you can ask your question.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay, so my question is that, is it professional to attach the cost of your service to your proposal sending to companies? Number one, yeah. So number two is also
Cost of your service. I didn't get that. Oh.
Is it professional to attach your cost of service? For instance, I'm into digital marketing and I especially major in school online branding. And then I've been writing proposals to schools. Sometimes we go physically, sometimes we do code email pitching, which is looking for their email and sending to them. Yes, but on one occasion, I discovered that we added a cost to our proposal in about 5 schools, and one of the schools, we were expecting actually that to reach back. In short, we expected that it would reach back, and they never reached back. So we were now thinking, could it be because the cost was attached to it and then they were just chased away from a distance? They didn't even bother to reach us and all of that. So that's the first question. The second question is that in one of my client schools also, we manage their online space, we run adverts for them, all of that. So that's sometimes we ask them to give us feedback as to how many parents actually came to enroll. Because it's one thing for parents to make inquiry online, it's another thing for parents to come physically to the school and enroll their children, which we don't have, we are not privy of. So when we ask them, sometimes they will just tell us, maybe 1 or 2, but on our online inquiry form, at times we get like 10, 15. Does it mean that out of the 10, 15, does it mean that 5 to 6 did not come for enrollment? So that's what we are saying. So now, I don't know, how do we approach such a situation?
Okay, your questions look a little out of scope from the subject matter, but they are very good and important questions. Let me just speak quickly to the first question. So there's no rule that says you should attach your cost of fees to your proposal. There's also no rule that says you should not. However, some organizations or professionals will not, at the introductory stage, attach fees. Why? When they do that proposal, they are using that proposal to secure like an audience, either a physical meeting or a virtual meeting, where you can engage with the potential clients, you can dimension their problems, you can scope the kind of services, and you have understanding. If by that, the follow-up, when you're now like trying to firm up things, you now attach a price. They can contextualize the price because you have discussed in detail the magnitude of the problem, the man-hour required to solve the problem, the expertise, the equipment, and other resources. But if you've not really discussed, you just say price 3 million. Out of the blue, they can think it's too much, that it shouldn't be more than 200,000 naira. But if you have engaged, part of the engagement itself, you have used that to mention few their pros and their. By the time you come back, maybe a second proposal or a follow-up proposal, or you're trying to consolidate into an agreement or MOU, because you've been engaging, the amount, no matter how small or big it is, will look reasonable because you have helped to shape the narrative and the context. I didn't get the second question very well, but I just got that it's a little out of scope of today's. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluyemi. This section is really an eye-opener. We really appreciate. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining this section. We've already exhausted our allotted time. I want to appreciate each and every one of us for bringing out their time to join this section. And I really would actually encourage us to really put in practice everything that Mr. Oluyemi has told us. And on behalf of our country director, Dr. Humphrey Akanazu, and our dean, Professor Agusa, we actually say a big thank you to everyone for joining us. And we look forward to more exciting sections with you. So you can actually reach out to Mr. Oluyemi on LinkedIn. His LinkedIn profile is Oluyemi Adeosun, and also our moderator, Ms. Abosidi. She's on LinkedIn as Abosidi Iwerua. Our speaker also has a YouTube channel, so we can do well to follow him as well. His YouTube channel name is Oluyemi Adeosun as well, so we can do well to follow him. For those of us asking questions about the attendance, if you can't see the attendance, you can actually log out and log in again. And you can do well to, or you can drop your name on the chat so we can know those that attended. Thank you very much for joining. See you next time. Thank you. Bye.